everyone to this evening's event on animal communication and absent healing presented by Lillian Steiner. Many of you know is committed to us understanding more about animals and how we can communicate, heal, and participate in their journey as well. And again, many of you already know, however, Lillian is a tutor and organizer at the Arthur Finley College and is a certificate holder with the Spiritualist National Union. I thank you all for showing up and for being here and present with us. And most definitely just be with me in this moment as we all send a wonderful wave or smile to Lillian for giving her time to us all and give our own special thank you for being here with us this evening. Thank you, Lillian.
Yeah, thank you all. And it's always a pleasure to talk about animals. It's my favorite subject. And it really is a passion of mine because so many people just don't realize how sensitive animals are and that they actually do understand us on a very deep, very inner level. And it's up to us to try to understand them a lot of the time. So this evening, we're going to be looking at animal communication and absent healing and different aspects of that. As far back as I can ever remember, I've always felt how animals feel. I cannot imagine a life and anyone not being able to do that, but I do realize that that is the case. And I remember as a very, very small child taking care of sick animals. You know, obviously I had no idea about healing or anything as such, but it was just through the intention and that desperate willing to make one of those pets healthy again, that just by setting that intention and giving our energy to them actually does help. And even that is just a form of healing. But very often when we talk about healing, it's not just healing on a physical level, it's also healing on an emotional level and on a mental level. And I'm a very strong believer that quite often illness is caused through mental stress, it's caused through emotional pain, it's caused through trauma. And if we don't tend to that early enough, then that can then lead on to physical pain and illness as well. And when we work with animal communication, what we're trying to do is trying to feel a pet or an animal on a deeper inner level. So we're understanding, we're trying to not read their body language as such, but trying to feel their sensation, feeling their emotions, feeling how are they feeling at this point in their life, and recognizing that pets and animals in general are so sensitive. They're way more sensitive than the most sensitive human being on this planet. And I'm just in awe because I've had the experience so often where a pet, it's one glance and they know everything. They know what your intention is. They know what you're thinking. They know what you're going to do with them. And I think anyone who has a pet recognizes that, especially those who have a cat and you're thinking, I need to go to the vet. And so you go down to get the little cat carrier, and as soon as you come back, before you've even come back, the cat's disappeared, because they know just before, as soon as you think the thought, I'm going to get that cat carrier because we're off to the vet, then they already know. They know way ahead. They pick up on conversations that we have about them when they're not present. So even when we're maybe out with a friend or maybe out for dinner and we're talking about them, if they are thinking about us and their energy is with us, they will be picking up on everything we're saying. And, you know, I do a lot of animal communication that is a big part of my work. And during that animal communication, I know that they can feel me, they can feel the energy, because for pets, when we have a thought to us is an energy, and it's flighty, and maybe someone who's sensitive will pick up on a thought or pick up on something that someone's thinking. But for a pet, if I imagine something, if I visualize something, for that pet, that is a reality. I have a technique that I use for missing pets, and I set up, like at that pet's home, if the pet is lost and they can't find their way home, I set up like this massive lighthouse where they live, and it's like a massive light that goes right up into the universe. And I just imagine that all the time, every day. And for them, the pets see that. I mean, if someone did that to me, I wouldn't see it because I wouldn't know. I would have no idea, but they see that. That is a reality. So when we imagine that we're on holiday somewhere and you imagine yourself touching your pet or stroking it, and you just communicate in your mind's eye and you think about them and you just touch them. When you touch them, they actually feel that. It's not, you know, if someone did that to me, I wouldn't feel it. But for pets, that is a reality. And I've had that, I've experimented so many times with that kind of thing, and I know that it is a reality and it does work. I had a situation once where one of my dogs were at home, and we'd gone on holiday. One of my friends was staying in the house. We'd been on holiday for 2 weeks, and the last night I was checking in at the airport, and I didn't think to my pet. I just had the thought, oh, I'm going to see my little dogs when I get home tomorrow morning. One of the dogs actually got up at that point in time and went and lay in front of the door. She never did that through the whole 2 weeks. But that night when I had that thought, she went and lay in front of the door, and she didn't leave that door until I came in through that door the very next morning. And that has happened so often, and it's always been through coincidence that someone's then mentioned, oh, by the way, she got up at 1 o'clock in the morning and she was lying in front of the door until you came home. And then I sort of thought, oh my God, I was thinking about her at that time, because that's when I was checking in. And it's through experience and coincidence, by people just letting me know things, that I have come to that conclusion that they do feel us and they do pick up on our emotions and our thoughts when we're away. And the closer your bonding is to a pet, the closer and the more exact or precise that image or that feeling that you're sending them will be. So, and what I've also realized is that the more we communicate with our pets, and the more we feel into their energy, the closer that bonding becomes, and the stronger the communication becomes. And pets who are used to being communicated with, and I'm not talking about come here or sit or lie or that kind of communication. I'm talking about communication whereby, you know, you pat them and you say, oh, aren't you lovely? Or how are you feeling today? Or, you know, in my everyday life, I talk to my pets all the time. You know, I talk to them aloud, I talk to them in my head, and they're used to that communication. And when a communicator or my students then do a communication with them, they're very open to it because that's what they're used to. Pets who are, you know, some pets have an okay life. They're part of a family, you know, but the family is like mum, dad, the kids, the boat, the house, and the dog kind of thing. And they go out with the dog, they take the dog to the vet, they do everything right by the dog. But that emotional attachment, that deeper emotional attachment isn't there, because many people are not aware that pets actually do understand us and they actually do communicate with us. And sometimes when people don't communicate with them and they leave their pets to settle or deal with things in their own life, that's when behavioural issues can sometimes come up, because they have no choice. The only way that they can possibly communicate to us that they're not happy or something's wrong is by doing something that will get our attention. And usually that something is not going to be something that we like. So that it's not a behavioral issue that we need to then be strict with them or whatever, you know. And for example, cats who pee inside, very, very seldom, I would probably say maybe 5% of them have a physical problem, and the other 95% of them are trying to tell us, hey, there's something wrong, I'm trying to tell you something here, I don't like this or I don't like that, you know, and they're asking for help. It's their way of signaling that they need help, that they're in a situation where they need our support. And most often they get told off or whatever, instead of because people don't understand that that's the way they're communicating to us. In this day and age, what is becoming more and more relevant to pets and people is the fact that pets are also stressed, the same as many humans are becoming more and more stressed through our lifestyles and the expectations of work and duties, responsibilities, and all the rest. Our pets also have stress situations. You know, quite often pets, you know, they don't have a home or a lifestyle which suits them. Sometimes they're not fed properly in a healthy sense. Sometimes they're overcrowded. Sometimes it can be due to overbreeding. Often stress can be caused through grief. There's so many different factors and situations, and animals are becoming more and more sensitive to their environments and to people, just the same as we people are as well. You know, people in this century seem to be becoming more and more sensitive compared to people 100 years ago, because 100 years ago we were all trying to survive and trying to make sure that we've got enough money to get through the day. And these days we've sort of, obviously some people still are, but also we have different possibilities to be able to learn different things. The world is becoming a faster place. We've got less and less time. So we're also becoming more and more sensitive to the energy that's changing on our planet as well. So that's a thing that we need to be very much aware of, because stress can be very much released through healing, absent healing or any kind of healing energy, before it actually then turns into a physical symptom or an illness. And, you know, if you have that bonding with your pet and you have that closeness, and you recognize quite often that there's something wrong with them before it can actually be identified what's wrong with them. Many people sort of, you look at your cat or your dog and you sort of think something's not quite right. And if we can then sort of sense into their well-being, then sometimes we can become aware of maybe a discomfort in the stomach, or maybe, you know, a pain in the leg or whatever it is. And when we do that, we talk about medical clairsentience, which is not diagnosing, but recognizing the source of discomfort and then going to get that then diagnosed by the vet. And that's something I do regularly with my own pets, that I will tell my vet, I think this and this and this, and I want you to look at this and this and this. And I mean, at the end of the day, they always do what we tell them to do, because obviously you're the ones paying the bill. But I also have a lot of people coming to me and asking about, or, you know, saying, I've had the osteopath. I had one lady who had a horse she'd had the osteopath about 15 times, she said, and the horse was very, very lame in his hind left leg. And she asked me to come and see the horse, and she showed me the video of the horse doing his exercise. And I mean, he was in agony, this horse. He really was not in a good state. And when I looked at this horse, I was just drawn to his hoof. And I said, I actually think it's not coming from the pelvis down, which is what the osteopath had been treating, but I felt it was coming from the hoof up. And I just said, if it was my horse, I would be getting a vet in to check that hoof out. And exactly that's what it was. It wasn't the pelvis at all. But obviously, when you're looking at a huge animal like a horse, and you've got a hind left leg, I mean, it's all connected to everything. It's very difficult to diagnose, because even if they are feeling tense up in the pelvic region, that doesn't mean that that's where the issue is. It could be tense because of the hoof and this kind of thing. You know, we can recognize how our pets are feeling through recognizing and feeling into their discomfort, feeling into their body, and maybe feeling a discomfort in your own body, or maybe just having the thought pop into your mind. And it's just about being in tune with ourselves and being in tune with the intuition that we have, because everyone has that. And it's just a matter of practicing on that. The only thing that can become a bit of an issue with our own pets is that quite often, because we're emotionally attached to them, then we get into this feeling of anxiety and fear. And once that happens, then we sort of lose that distance that we sort of kind of need to be able to feel into them, because then we're thinking, oh, I hope it's not this, and I hope it's not that, and last time he did that, he had this, and last time. And when we start doing that, then we're thinking with our minds, and that then everything goes haywire. We really need to stay in a quiet place and try to stay out of the emotions, and just linking in on like a soul level, on a much deeper level, and then linking in soul to feel how that pet feels, and also find out the source of what that illness or what that pain could be. So you know, animals suffer on all levels. They suffer on mental, emotional, physical. I had one dog who I did a communication with, and he was self-harming, just like people are self-harming. And he was chewing on his paws and on his claws until he was, you know, bleeding. And this lady had taken this dog on from a rescue place. I think he was like a Doberman cross. And she rang up and she said, you know, she'd been to the vet. They hadn't known what to do. They'd put him on some kind of psychotic medicine, which had stopped the behavior, but he started to become really very, very aggressive. And so they took him off the medication, and then he started chewing his claws again. And she just rang up and she said, I don't know what to do. So I did a communication with the dog, and he told me that his prior owners had gotten divorced, and he was still waiting for his mum, because his mum had left him there with his dad, and he was waiting and waiting and waiting, and he was so anxious and worried about her, he was self-harming. And basically, you know, as hard as it is, I just said to him very clearly, your mum is never, ever coming back. You've got to let that go. This lady here is your new mum, and she loves you just as much. And he stopped that behavior that very day. And he just stopped all the chewing, and he was sad. And, you know, we helped him through that as well. And then about 3 months later, she rang me back and she said, he started again. And I thought, because I know that always when something stops and it starts again, something triggers it. So I knew something had happened, and I asked him what had happened, and he said, she left me. And apparently what had happened was she had gone away for a couple of days, thinking better to have him home and have someone look after him than give him to a kennels. So she had her dad come and look after him. So he's sitting at home with another male, and his mum's gone. And he just fell straight back into that same scenario and started worrying and anxiety and everything, and started that all over again. And we just cleared it up, and he's been fine ever since. So just to say, you know, animals can get stressed out, and they can you know, be so anxious on a mental level that they become ill, or they do self-harm each other. Or they can be traumatized by so many different things that people are unaware of, especially when it comes to horses. Now, I also work as an equine muscle release therapist, so I actually work physically on the horses as well. And I see it all the time where horses are moved, they're moved from stable to stable to stable because the owners don't get on, or they don't like each other, or she said this and he did this, and then they all move on again. And they are so unaware that these horses are herd animals. They need their friends, they need companionship, and every time they go to a new stable, they make new friends, they settle in, they have their hierarchy in the herd, and then all of a sudden 3 months later we move on to the next stable, and then they do it all over again, and they grieve for their friends. It's like being pulled out of their family and then pushed into another family, and they start all over again, and sooner or later, very often, they just fall into like a state of depression, because it's just the same old, and they think, why even bother? I may as well just be on my own. But being on their own for a horse is not a natural thing, and that's when the downward spiral starts. So and that happens with all sorts. It's always I know that we can't live our lives according to our pets, and there has to be compromise on both sides. But sometimes I feel people are just absolutely not aware. It's just like, yeah, we're moving, and they don't think about the repercussions or how the horse feels in that. It's just like we move them around. I remember I have a horse, and in my own stable, this is a long time ago, there was I took my horse out, got her ready, went for a ride, came back, cleaned her down. I mean, this is talking 3 hours. When I left the stables, they were trying to load up a pony, and I saw that they were struggling, and came back. They were still struggling, couldn't get the pony in, and I just thought, oh. And when I'd finished, I just went up to them and I said, "Are you having problems?" And they said yes. And I just looked at the pony, and I knew she's leaving. They're taking her from the stable, and she's never coming back. So I said to them, "She's leaving for good, isn't she?" And they said yes. And I said, well, maybe just let her go back into a stable and just say goodbye to her friends, and I think she'll be okay. And they did. They put her back in the stable, and she actually went up to both sides, went to her little neighbours, and they all sort of snuzzled up, and that was good. And then she just came out and she walked straight into that float, and off they went. And it was as easy as that. But we'd been struggling for 3 hours, and it's just because people don't think beyond what the situation is, and often don't realise that. I'm talking horses, cats, dogs, but it's the same for any pet. They all have desires and wishes and needs, and they're all different. And we just need to be, if we can just be aware of that, that makes their life easy, makes our life easy. We can keep them healthy, we stay healthy, and everyone can be happy. And this is the reason I love doing these talks, because I'm hoping that we can get this image out into the world more and more about how we can communicate, and how animals can often do support us, but we support them as well. And because, animals pick up on energy, they pick up on family life. If the situation at home isn't good, it stresses them out. They feel that. And very often animals will support us and help us in our own illnesses. I've seen it over and over again where an animal or a pet will take on an illness for the person, and it's not always because they want to, but it's more because they want to be of service, they want to help, they love their people, and they'd rather them be ill, and they take this on for the person. And I had the exact same thing happen with my own horse a couple of years ago, where I had she had a back problem, and I took her into the clinic, and they just couldn't get her right. And in the end, I realized that her back problem was similar to my back problem. And I just thought, no, we're not doing this. So I went to see her in the clinic, as I did every day. And I just looked at her, and I mean, we are so close. We've been together for 16 years, and she looks at me and I look at her, and we know it's like, you know, we're part of each other. But I went in there and I looked her deep in the eyes, and I just said to her, I said, you've got to stop this. I said, I can carry my own illnesses. I am responsible for myself, and I don't want you doing this. So just let it go. And she came home within 2 days. She was fine, all healed. And 2 days later, I had a slip disc and ended up in hospital having my back operated on. But that was just so amazing to me, because I, up until that point, had always said that animals reflect our illnesses, so that if they have an illness, it's a reflection, and I can't tell the pet not to do it, because it's just that we're in that same energy, so we're resonating, and they will reflect what I'm meant to be doing. And it was just a thought that came to me that I thought, I need to tell her that, and it changed immediately. And I mean, I was very grateful that I, you know, could deal with myself, and she became healthy. But I also had a client who had, he was a dog breeder, and he lost 3 dogs in 1 year to bladder cancer. And I just thought, there's no way that that is coincidence. You know, it's just, but the same thing, and they're issues, or things that, you know, sometimes we need to look at what is the cause of bladder cancer, and then go in behind that to find out, okay, so what part of my life do I need to look at on an emotional level, because sometimes that can be the cause. So when we talk about pets and healing, we're talking about, you know, the emotional level, we're talking about the physical level, and we're also talking about the mental level. Now, on a physical level, I've had the experience that very often, if I'm working with pets, and you're doing hands-on healing, so you touch the pet, sometimes it can be too strong for them. It's too much, and they will move away. And when they do that, we need to respect that, because it's important that they feel comfortable, and not sort of tie them up and force them to have the healing. And sometimes, on the other hand, if you put your hand on a pet, they may sometimes sort of move around so that your hand ends up where they wish you to have your hand, so the healing for them is in a certain place. You know, and they all react differently. That's why you can't say, you know, if you're healing a pet, then you stand 1 meter away or close or whatever, because each and every one of them, same as people, are different in their sensitivity, and according to whatever the need is, they might need more or less. But because animals are so in tune with nature, and you know, with the etheric and all the energy in this world, they seem to be very good recipients for healing energy, and they know what they need and how much of it they need. And sometimes during the healing setting, they might just get up and walk away, because it's like, I've got my fill, I've had enough, and off they go. Now, if obviously you're working with dogs or cats or something like that, you're okay. Now, if we're working in a stable, like with horses, it's probably not advisable to go in and actually touch them if you're in a different state, or you've got your eyes closed, because, you know, it can be dangerous. But I have found that absent healing works just the same and just as strong as if we're doing hands-on healing. And when I am doing healing and I'm standing maybe outside a stable, the horses that want healing all come out, and they come as close as they can to get the healing. So it's like they know the energy. And I you know, because I feel healing obviously has been around for centuries and centuries, for ages, and animals are very much in tune with that energy. They also feel people who have that healing energy, as I said before, they'll come, they'll take what they need and they go. Even when I'm working physically on the horses that are close by, they'll all come out, and the further away they're standing, and they can't get close, the less they'll come out and enjoy it. It's like you can actually see how far that energy reaches to the horses. It's an amazing thing, and horses especially. I mean, I love all animals, but I've noticed that horses especially are so sensitive to healing energy, and also obviously are great healers themselves. You know, that's the reason why we put handicapped people or people with special needs on horses, or why they do training and assistance with alcoholics and all sorts, because horses have such a deep understanding, and they will help, and they know what a person needs if you allow them. They also know when someone is not being authentic or putting on a show or pretending to be something they're not, and they won't put up with it. I've seen it over and over, but they feel your intention. And when you go up to a horse, and even I mean, sometimes I have to treat horses who they kick and bite and all sorts, and usually they take one look at me and they come up and they know I'm going to do something good. Now, sometimes, they've had experiences with chiropractors, with osteopaths, and nothing against any of that, because they're all valuable in what they do. But sometimes those treatments can be quite painful, and then they remember that, and they're sort of maybe a little bit skeptical about, what are you going to do to me, and are you going to hurt me? And when they realize, oh, this is nice, and they can relax, and they start enjoying it, the next time I go back, even the kickers and biters, they're standing and waiting, and they come right up to my face, and they're nuzzling around in my face. I never ever am afraid, because I feel their intention, and I know that it's like their appreciation that they show, the way that they behave towards us. So, when we talk about healing with animals, we also maybe need to look at the other side of that, which is, for example, the therapy dogs that go into rest homes and hospitals and hospices and all of that, which is amazing work that they do. But they also need to recuperate, and very often I've seen that that's not the case, that people they don't have enough therapy dogs, so they've been pushed to their limit to go here, to go there. And it's really, very, very important, because these dogs are picking up on, they're carrying a responsibility and the weight of all those people and all that emotion and all the trauma and the anxiety, and they need to have time to recuperate. They need to go out and relax and do their own thing and be free of all of that before we take them back in again, the same as the horses. Otherwise they just they burn out, just like people do as well, and it's not fair to them. So that's it's sort of a two-way thing. But I've found that nearly all people, even in a state of anxiety or trauma, react to animals. And I've especially seen it with the horses, where they know that this is a person with special needs. The wildest horses that no one can, hardly stay on, and you put someone with special needs or a little child on them, and they just are so careful, because they feel the energy. They know this is a person who needs me, and they're happy to do that. And I just think, they are so giving that sometimes, it's time to give back. And I think that they often don't get enough. They don't get what they should be given. But anyway, going back to the healing, when we do hands-on healing with any pets, you will sometimes see more reactions than others. Not all pets obviously react in the same way, and obviously it depends on the pet as to how they're going to react. But with the horses, very often you'll see them sort of licking their lips, or they start to chew, or their eyes sort of start to close, or you might see that they're like a twitching, or quite often on the horses, what I especially see is that the veins start to stand out. Like when you get there, you don't see any veins, and it's sort of like humans when we overexert ourselves and you see the veins starting to stand up, to cool down. That's quite often a reaction that we'll see with them as well, or just the relaxation of just sort of sleepy kind of feeling. Sometimes they get tingling sensations. I guess it's very similar to people and how we feel when we receive healing as well. Now, obviously, there's I'm a big believer of trance healing, but you know, I believe healing in any form works for animals. But having said that, healing doesn't always mean making an animal healthy. You know, it can help them release and help them be able to pass to the other side with less suffering, more comfort. And quite often when we're doing healing with especially pets who are ready to leave us and pass to the other side, then you know, it's the pet and the person who need the healing. You know, I've come across this so often that pets, they will not go until the person they love lets them go. And you know, I've had it over and over again. I had a lady, and a student of mine from years ago, who just rang up, and you know, her cat was in a really, really bad way, and she said, I can't put her down, I can't put her down, I can't make the decision. And I am a strong believer that no one can make that decision. The pet is reliant on the person, and the pet will not want to go until the person releases them, until the person says, it's okay, you can go, you know, if your time's come, you're free. And if the person can't do that, then the pet can't go. So I don't believe that there is a certain point in time where you can say the pet wants to go now, or that you can ring someone up and say, okay, and they can say, okay, it's time for them to go. Because the time when we can, or we have the opportunity or the need to put a pet out of its misery, there is no specific right or wrong time. It really is a very sort of intimate decision between the pet and their person. And as someone standing outside of that relationship, I really don't think anyone can say, you know, take that responsibility off that person and say, okay, it's time to do it now, because the pet is waiting basically for the person to let them go. And I had one case, this was horrendous, and I'll never forget this case, and this was donkeys years ago, and it was a lady with a cat who it was an older cat, I think she was about, I can't remember, 12 or 14, and she had a lung condition, and the vet had said to her, you know, this lung, there's only one possibility, we can operate, but I would not do it, because chances are the other lung is going to go as well, and it's very painful, and she's an older cat, and I would advise you to let her go. And now this lady loved this cat so much, and it was like her whole life. And she said she had no one in her life apart from this cat. And she said, she rang me up and she said, I can't, you know, and she said, can you communicate to the cat? And I'm thinking, and the cat was not in a good way, but the cat loved this lady, and she was not going to leave. And she, you know, if the lady said, we're going to operate, then she was going to do it. And that's what she did. And I tried to tell her, please don't do this to this poor cat. And she did anyway. And the cat was in a very bad way, and she took her home. And I mean, it was just cruelty. the cat stopped eating and she wouldn't drink, so she took her to the vet every second or third day to force feed her, and the cat was stressed out in the car, and then she kept ringing up and saying, oh, I'm so worried he's going to die on the way to the vet, please tell him not to die and please tell him not to suffocate. And in the end, the cat had a heart attack on the way to the vet, I think after, I don't know, maybe about a week, and passed on its own. And, you know, I just sort of thought, you know, it was such a selfish thing. And, you know, I was frustrated because I was trying to help this cat, but the lady just was adamant and she wouldn't let the cat go. And, yeah, and the cat suffered terribly. And in the end, she said to me, she rang me about a month later and she said, I've got this photo of my cat and it keeps looking at me and it looks really bad, like it's really angry with me. And I was thinking, you probably just got a really bad conscience there, as sad as it is. And, you know, we talked her through it and everything. But, you know, this is what people do because we put ourselves first. And I believe as a pet owner or a pet person, you know, it is my responsibility to put the pet first. That is part of my responsibility as a person, to help that pet, as hard as it is. I mean, none of us like to lose our pets, do we? But that I think but part of that process of letting, if you let the pet go and you in your heart really release that pet and say, look, you know, if your time's up, you're ready to go whenever you want to go, I'll be there to help you. With the healing and the absent healing, it can be such a beautiful process of release and very calming and very peaceful. And the healing energy works so exceptionally well on pets because they're so open to it. It's like they're sort of in resonance with that energy because they recognize the energy, and they're not like us humans where we doubt and think, oh, healing, it's not going to work, and oh, what a load of rubbish. And like a lot of people don't believe in any of that kind of thing. But when it comes to pets, that to me is the proof that healing does work, because they don't have those dogmas and they don't have the thoughts that we have of it works or it doesn't work, or the doubts. They just accept it and use that energy and take that energy. And that's the beautiful thing about absent healing or any kind of healing that we do. So that's sort of what I've been wanting to talk to you about today. I also believe communication, when we're talking about animal communication, I believe that healing works on that spoken word level as well. When we talk about healing, we often think about hands-on healing or illness or that kind of thing. But when we're talking about animal communication, healing, I believe there's a lot of healing power in what we say and how we say it. And that the spoken word is also a way of healing. And when we do animal communication, or we become aware of how animals feel or their needs, that also to me is a kind of healing. It's the same as with people. You know, when we have something that sort of bothers us, or we have a problem and we discuss it with someone, and someone gives us that understanding kind of a healing energy as well. That's the same kind of thing that we do with our pets. When we feel into them and we try to give them the best that we possibly can according to their needs, and you know, and before a situation arises whereby behavioral issues and trauma and all sorts happen, we can, if we communicate with our pets and we feel into them, we can stop any of that kind of thing happening before it even gets to that point. And I think that's one of the most important things. The other thing that I feel is also an important part of this healing with animals is the grief that they go through. You know, animals that have been together for a long, long time, you know, maybe cats, brother and sister, and they've been together, you know, 16, 17, 18 years, and one of them passes to spirit. They feel the spirit world. I found some pets feel the spirit world more than others, just the same as humans, but they are aware of the energy of that pet that's gone to the spirit world, but they grieve terribly. And sometimes I work a lot with the Bach flowers and the rescue remedy and that kind of thing, to help them on an emotional level, help them through their grief, or giving them healing on that emotional level so that they can release that grief, and you can help them through that as well. And of course, they're all different. I mean, I unfortunately lost one of my dogs about 6 years ago. My second dog had never, ever been on her own. She'd come out of a huge pack of dogs to me, to just the two of them. That was a major issue for her. And then when the other dog passed, who was sort of her protector, and she was the one who taught her that it's okay if there's just the two of us. We don't need 10 other dogs. And she learned so much of her. I thought, oh, you know, now that she's passed, I'm definitely going to have to get a second dog because she will not be able to cope on her own. But she was the exact opposite. And when when my other dog passed to spirit, I always take my pets home, obviously not my horses, but my dogs and cats. And I always take them home, and I leave them here for a little while, where I give them the time to rest and for the soul just to leave peacefully, and not sort of like in a rush, you know, and then off to the cremation or whatever. So I feel into that energy, and I wait to see. Sometimes after 12 hours, I go into the room and I think, oh, they're gone. Or sometimes it takes 2 days, sometimes 2.5. And it's only once I feel they've sort of completely gone. I don't even know how to say it in words. It's just a feeling that the soul has moved on. That's when I'll go and do the rest. And I always let the other pets come in and say their goodbyes. So I never have that problem of, oh my God, what's happened? Because I come across that all the time with pets, that someone's, you know, a cat or a dog has passed, their friend is gone, and then they fall into a depressive state, and then people, you know, ring up and ask for help, and then the cat will say, well, what happened, where is she? I've been looking for her and she doesn't come home, and how can they, and they're totally and anxious about the whole situation because they don't understand what's happened. And it's in those situations that we need to be really clear, as hard as it is, and tell them, look, you know, this is what's happened, she's not coming back, she's passed to the spirit world, I'm so sorry, but you're on your own now, or, you know, and we explain it to them. And that's why if you have a pet who's passed to the spirit world, and the other pets can come and say their goodbyes in their own time, and they all do it differently. I've seen it. I had one dog who just sat, and it was as if she was guarding the dog who had passed to spirit. She'd never left her side until the day that I went into that room, and I thought, oh, she's gone. It's just like that feeling, she's moved on to somewhere else. And from that moment on, she left her, and it was like she knew and she understood. And others come in, just have a sniff, look around, oh, okay, and off they're gone again. It's so individual, the same as it is for us. But that sense of grief is something that all animals have, and it's just something that not all that is not always visible in a physical sense, depending on the kind of animal it is. You know, if even, you know, birds that, you know, sometimes are maybe a little bit more difficult to read than a dog who wags its tail and you know, is very much more expressive. It's hard to pick up on whether they're grieving or not, but they all grieve in their own way. And it's something that I think we need to be aware of, and it's something that I think a lot of people aren't. It's just like, oh, gone is gone, and bring the next pet in, which often is just not the right thing at the right time. Sometimes they just need time to get over that. And when we bring a new pet in too early, then there's just resistance and it's not a good start. So, you know, we sort of need to be aware of that as well. So I think I've sort of covered what I wanted to say, but what I would like to go on to now is to do an absent healing, especially to do an absent healing with pets. So you might want to, you know, before we start the healing, think about any pets in your life or around you or that you know may need some healing. Sometimes healing doesn't have to be just for pets who are ill or anxious. Sometimes we can just give them healing to give them a surge of energy, to give them a bit of a pick up and go if they're feeling a bit down, that as well. But I would also like to include all the animals and pets in the Ukraine that are anxious and starving and worried and in that war. It's a really, really tough time for them as well, those who've been left behind and grieving and everything as well. So if we could just also take them into our healing this evening. We got quite a few people here, so I feel that we might have a lovely, beautiful power that we can send out to help everyone. Okay, so I'll just take the lead, and when I come to the point where you think about your own pets who you'd like to bring in, and then just think about them. It's all about setting an intention. Basically, I always teach everyone, wherever your thoughts are, that's where your energy is. And it doesn't matter if it's in the next room or it's in the other end of the world. There, and pets will feel that. That's how sensitive they are. And sometimes people too. So when we send our energy out and our intent out to healing to these pets and whoever they are and wherever they are, they will feel it. And it can, and a good thing to remember sometimes is, if you know, for example, you have a friend who's got a pet who might need healing and you're sending healing, that you then maybe before you send the healing, just give them a call and say, can you just watch the pet and see if there are any reactions. And it's quite interesting that you might see the twitching or the sleepiness or all of a sudden that sort of turning inwards kind of a feeling about them. So you get some feeling of you know, that the healing has reached them and that you're actually helping them. That gives us a feeling sometimes that, yeah, it's not just all in our minds, and it's not just, so you get some kind of confirmation that the healing energy is there. So that's just a thought on the side. So what I'd like us all to do is we just sit comfortably and just closing our eyes and becoming aware of your breathing just for a moment. Okay, and as we do so, just becoming aware of your own healing energy, your own beautiful white light. Just relaxing into your breathing. And as you do so, allowing that beautiful heart energy to expand out through your whole physical body. Relaxing the physical body. And with each breath, just relaxing, expanding that white light all through and around your physical body. Feeling the intention to heal, feeling that beautiful love energy, that energy that bonds us all together, humans and pets. And as we do so, setting the intention to heal to all your pets, just thinking of those pets that you'd like to send healing energy to. and also sending that beautiful, powerful healing light to all those pets who are suffering and anxious and traumatized in the Ukraine as well. And just allowing that beautiful God-like energy, the universal energy, to blend with you, its healing power, allowing yourself to be the bringer of healing energy. Just feeling how your energy changes as that beautiful power flows through you to where it's needed. Just sitting in that power for a few moments to allow that healing energy to go where it's needed. Just very gently saying thank you for allowing that beautiful healing energy to flow through you to be where it was needed. And just becoming aware of your breathing, very gently coming back to yourself and opening your eyes when you're ready, just taking your time. And just gently coming back, opening your eyes. It was beautiful energy that you could feel within the group. It was lovely. It's lovely when you feel a lot of people together joining to do some healing for a cause. When a lot of people come together, the energy is just amazing. It was lovely blending. So thank you for that. So before we finish up, I was just, does anyone have any questions about anything I've said, or about healing with animals, or about animal communication? Anything you'd like me to clarify on? No questions. That's a first. Okay. Yeah, Isles.
Yeah, I did I'm a medium, and a lady came for a reading, and I was giving her this reading, and all of a sudden I went, oh, this dog's come in. And, you know, that was the finish of the reading for her, because it was more important for her to hear about the dog. And the sad thing was, and I had no idea about this dog. And I said, oh, the dog's telling me that it understands why it had to be put down. And she just broke down, and she said that he had bitten a couple of people, and she didn't feel right about giving him away to another family. So she had him put down. And for the dog to come in and say that he understood that he'd been naughty, and which was really great. So that was, you know, that was pretty amazing for me, because usually you see an animal and they just keep flying through. Well, this one had to stop and talk. So it was very important, and it was healing for the dog and for the lady, I feel.
Absolutely.
She'd carried the burden about putting him down, you see. I just thought I'd share that, because that was pretty amazing for me.
Yeah, that's a lovely story. Absolutely. You know, I that's something that I do come across regularly, even when people put their pets down for other reasons like illnesses or whatever. So many people feel guilty, or was it the right time, or should I have waited? There's always, or very often, there's a lot of clarity or unclearness in that. So yeah, lovely. Thank you for that. Yeah, Mark, you were next. Yeah, hi.
Hi, excuse me, but so many questions. But my daughter can't have children. She's in her 40s now, but her and her partner, well, originally they had 4 English bulls, 2 cats. Oh, now down to 1 dog. Oh, brother and sister, I've got a picture I wanted to send you. It's of the boy dog that was poorly, and his sister was laid right on top of him like that. You couldn't get any closer.
Yeah.
Really. And the Oscar, his name was. And every time I spoke to my daughter on the phone, he knew it was me. He could recognize me on the video phone. None of the other dogs bat an eyelid, but this particular one, oh no, straight into me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to talk to him. He comes every time I went round, my hand was on his back. That was him. Happy. Didn't want anything else.
It's lovely. And it's also interesting, as you said, you know, how they give each other healing as well, the pets, you know, if one's sick, the other supports. It's lovely. Yeah, absolutely.
But again, that.
Oh, you've turned on mute again.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
They've now getting a puppy because Darcy, the one that's left, lost a brother, but she's the smallest and quietest of the load of them. Now she's getting all the attention, but she's got no company.
Yeah.
But every now and again they introduce her to a friend's dog. It's similar. Oh, she's as happy as Larry. So now they sent me a picture of the puppy just born today. So they know they've got a choice of either a boy or girl, but I think they know which one they want. So, so now everything's rosy now.
Yeah, oh, lovely. I'm glad it's worked out. Okay, thank you for that. And Carolyn, yeah, hi.
Okay, hi. Okay, so I have a question. I really never really owned a dog until now, but my first kind of communication that I had was with my friend's dog that I had to go take care of when she went on vacation. And sadly, like that was like my first surprise because I did feel the dog like kind of being sad, and like a bad thought at that moment like came into my mind, like kind of the dog like wanting to pass away. And sadly, within like 2 days, just before she came and everything, the dog did pass away. So that was like my first surprise when, you know, like when it came to communication. Then we did purchase a puppy. And then I do have that kind of relationship that you said, like, which is like that bonding. And like, I'm kind of able to feel her when she's upset, when she wants her things and everything. So I hear that you said that you communicate with them. So usually, how are you mainly supposed to do it? Like, do we do it like kind of mind to mind, or do we just say it out loud? Because what if I needed to communicate with somebody else's dog, but, you know, like kind of the owner?
Yeah. When I work with my, or when I communicate with my own dog, then sometimes I speak to her and sometimes I think to her, whatever. It doesn't matter to the pet will pick up on either. When I'm working with other people's pets, I always need a photo. So I need the photo and the name, and then I just focus. It's not reading the picture. The picture is just a focus point. So the picture tells me this is the pet that I'm wanting to communicate with, and this is the name of that pet. And then I'll say that name and I'll look at that picture, and that will bring me into the energy of that pet, where I can communicate with them on that level.
Okay.
But then I do that silently. I mean, you could do it aloud if you wanted to, but I talk, it's like mind to mind then.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks. Yeah, Marie-Therese, hi.
Hello. First, thank you for this wonderful teaching and sharing your experience.
You're welcome.
Yeah, at first, 1 second before we started this absent healing, my dog was entering and sat down on the couch. And exactly 1 second after you would say we stop, he went, he went away. So that's really evidence that they feel this energy coming and going. So that was very nice.
Yeah.
And before this dog, I had the other Cocker Spaniel, and I had him for 15 years, and he was really my hero, also this one. But I had him put to sleep because he was very ill at the end, and I slept for 8 months with him on the ground to be with him. So I had to put him asleep, and then I went to the owner of the cremation at the center, and he would be cremated. And I asked the owner, do you know which day and how late you will cremate my dog? Because I wanted to be on that time. And he said, no, I couldn't tell you because I don't know my schedule yet. So I went to my work, and then at the specific time at that day, I felt a very glow in my heart, and I knew this is my dog. He's being cremated. So I write it down, the day and exact time. So afterwards, I collected what was left of my dog, and I asked the owner, don't tell me, but did you cremate my dog at that day, at that time? And he was gazing at me like, how did you know?
Yeah.
So that was very nice. So that was really confirming that although he had left, he gave me the message when it passed. So that was very nice.
Oh, it's lovely. I know because they do that. And when we, even when they're in the spirit world, they're always close.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I never, ever stop being in awe and wondering and wonder of the communication and what is possible. It's just an amazing world. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you for that.
I wanted to say one thing more, that during this absent healing, that the dogs and owners of some people with their dogs came into my awareness that they had needed healing. And I know why, because those owners have also problems, so the dog also. So it was like, put it on this one, this one, this one. So that was also very nice.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
I did notice that quite a few people had pets come in during the healing and then leave again. So that was interesting. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, Yolanda, hi.
Hi, good evening, Lillian. It's very nice to listen to you. I really like to work with animals as well. And what I find amazing by animals, their intelligence, that even when that's my experience, when I go to another city and I'm just walking there, that the owners with dogs in Holland, they just has no leash of just walking on the side way, on the steps. And they just come to me and they just stand with me. And then the owner, come on, boy. And then they're not moving, they're just waiting. And it feels like they know you are aware of they need healing. So I'm just standing there and giving them healing. And the owner said, I don't understand this because he or she doesn't like strangers and he or she's just waiting. So I want for all of us that we are more aware of the needs of animals and that we take time to give that little healing, but also to make the owner aware of what is going on with their dog, because I was also communicating then. And I said, do you understand that your dog have a problem with its spine and it's difficult for moving? But I'm also going, I see the head or whatever. And they say, yeah, he had a brain damage or whatever. And then, but I didn't know about the spine. So I said, well, maybe you can visit the doctor or whatever, or just see, or you can just put your hands yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just explaining what's happening. And it's amazing how animals react to you. And also with a friend of mine, he has a dog. He's never coming to people because he's living outside a dog. But I was just entering his house and the dog was coming to me and she was just falling down in front of me on her back. And I could put my hands on her tummy. And he said, I don't know what's going on. I said, I know what's going on. So that's, I like to work with young children and animals because what you said it's just fine. They don't question themselves. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. That was lovely. Thank you. Yeah, Leo, hi. Yeah, come on.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. So if I understand, I think I understand that if you were to travel away from your pet, you could still communicate.
Yeah.
Let's call it telepathy or whatever. Okay, that's quite amazing. And stay in communication, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
As though you were actually present.
Mm-hmm.
Mistaken? Okay, okay. So my thought is, well, why can't the average pet owner know about this and then train their wonderful companion, because they're going to go away at some point, and why have this poor animal suffer? There's such a love going on, you know, certainly from the animal, hopefully from the owner as well. But anyway, so pet owners should really be training to communicate. And
absolutely.
So that, and be able to train, in a sense, their pet, even though their pet is probably much more aware than they are. But also, I'm saying train them that, hey, I travel. I'm sometimes away for 3 or 4 days or whatever. And can we figure out a way to establish communication while I'm away, just so you know that we're never really apart. And I guess I'm also asking, can you practice that when you're actually present, maybe?
You know, I think for pets, it's a totally natural thing. You know, when I'm away a lot, not through since Corona, but I used to be away a lot. And all my pets have a fabulous life. I mean, I do everything. Everyone wants to be my horse or my cat or my dog. So I always, I tell them, I just say to them, look, you have this life. I do everything I can for you. I love you to pieces, but this is the condition. I have to go away. This is part of my work, but I stay in contact with you every day. And when I'm away, I just have a routine. I always do that before I go to bed. I just sit down and I have a think, and I actually imagine myself touching their fur, stroking them, and I can feel their fur under my hand. And then I just talk to them, you know, just say, I've just had a really good day, and how are you? And I'm okay, and I hope you're not sad, because everything's okay, and I'm going to be back another 4 sleeps or whatever. And it just gives them that reassurance that that it's not just communication. It's like for the pet, that is as if you were there, right there in the physical. And you don't need to practice that. We maybe need to practice it for us as people, but the pet is totally aware of that.
Okay.
And I feel the better you can imagine yourself stroking and feeling their body and their warmth and their fur or whatever, that the better you can visualize that, the stronger that bonding is.
Yeah. So animal shelters such as Society for Prevention of Cruelty, before they should be offering classes like this, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. Everyone should be. Yes.
Yeah. No, almost as a requirement for adopting is what I'm saying. At least expose potential owners to this possibility. And I'm not sure that it goes on much. But
I think the problem is that because there is no evidence to prove it, that a lot of people are skeptical, you know, but I've just had so much evidence over the years. There is no doubt in my mind. You know, I have done communication with pets via photo. Those pets have never seen me, and it happened once with horses. And it ended up that those 2 horses ended up in the same stables as my horse. I didn't recognize the horses. I do so much. I had a photo, I didn't recognize. I saw these 2 horses standing at the gate, staring at me as I walked past. I went to get my horse, come back, they were still standing there staring at me. It was like they were saying, hey, like I could feel that they were calling me, but I was thinking, who are they? Just didn't get it. And then the owner came up to me and said, introduced herself and said, oh, you worked with my 2 horses, there they are. And I was like, well, there you go. They knew who I was. I didn't know who they were. And they'd never seen me, but they know the energy. So, you know, they're way beyond us.
Oh dear. All right.
Something to
Okay.
think about.
No, I've been fully, as a pet owner, I learned from them. I realized very early on, they're teaching me a lot more things I never, we as humans have a lot, we have a long way to go.
Absolutely, I agree. Okay, thank you for that anyway.
Yeah, let me step in here. We are at time. So Rachel, if you can be concise and clear, we would really appreciate that, because I really want to honor and respect Lillian's time that she has given to us. So if you don't mind, Rachel.
Okay. Hi, Rachel.
Hi. Really quick, I go into the zoos here in the United States, and I do the healing distance to the animals like the hippos and wolves. And they come from everywhere and they crowd around me, and my children and other people just laugh. They're like, oh, they're going up to that lady. And it is an amazing experience. I just really want to encourage anybody to do that. When you see any animals, especially the ones that are alone, they are healers of the world, as we are, and they need their cups filled just as we do from time to time as well. So that's it.
Absolutely. And I think that's a fantastic job you're doing. Any animals in captivity, they desperately need healing. So thank you for doing that. Lovely.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, lovely. Anyway, so thank you for having listened to me this evening. I've enjoyed myself thoroughly. So
yes, thank you, Lillian, very much for giving up your time, and we did our best to respect your time, as I really want to make sure that if any of you have further questions, please, you can find Lillian. She is not always contained in this box. You can find her on her website at the Arthur Findlay College. So please become more involved, because we always say we need more healers, but we also need more animal healers, animal communicators, and those of us more involved. So Lillian, once again, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for your inspiration, for your thoughts, your philosophy, and for sharing with us. Much appreciated.
thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.